Retired Senior Chief Petty Officer Lucas Bennett stood on the deck of his 28-foot charter boat at K-9’S Garrison Bight Marina at dawn, preparing equipment for another day of budget recreational diving, work that represented a profound professional decline from his 14 years as a Navy SEAL, conducting classified maritime operations across multiple theaters. At 39 years old, Lucas had left the teams 18 months ago after a night raid in Somalia went catastrophically wrong, resulting in 3 teammates killed during exfiltration and Lucas sustaining injuries that ended his operational career, though they left no visible scars. The physical wounds had healed within months: cracked ribs, torn ligaments, minor shrapnel that surgical teams removed efficiently. But the PTSD and survivor's guilt had manifested with devastating psychological impact. Night terrors so severe, Lucas averaged 3 hours of sleep per night. Intrusive memories triggered by sounds resembling gunfire or helicopter rotors, and crippling inability to tolerate large groups or crowded environments. Research showed that between 11–20% of veterans who served in Operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom experience PTSD in any given year, with symptoms including flashbacks, nightmares, hypervigilance, emotional numbness, and difficulty regulating emotions. Lucas embodied those statistics completely. He experienced all documented PTSD symptoms with intensity that made normal civilian life nearly impossible. His VA therapist, a clinical psychologist specializing in combat trauma, had suggested ocean work, something familiar from SEAL training but removed from combat operations. The therapist's reasoning was that underwater environments provided controlled isolation that could be therapeutic for veterans struggling with hypervigilance and social anxiety. Diving charters seemed like a reasonable compromise. Work that kept Lucas physically active, utilized his extensive maritime expertise, and required minimal social engagement beyond basic safety briefings and equipment instruction. His only companion was Havoc, a 7-year-old Belgian Malinois who'd been Lucas's K-9 partner during 3 deployments spanning Iraq, Yemen, and classified maritime interdiction operations. Havoc had specialized in underwater detection operations, one of fewer than 15 Belgian Malinois trained specifically for maritime explosive detection by the Navy's elite military working dog program. When Lucas retired under medical discharge, Havoc came with him under the military working dog adoption program that prioritized handler placement when operationally feasible and psychologically beneficial for both operator and dog. Belgian Malinois were considered the absolute elite among military working dogs, smaller, lighter, more agile, and more adaptable than German shepherds, possessing exceptional intelligence, incredible work, drive, and athletic capabilities that made them overwhelmingly preferred for special operations requiring versatility and precision. Havoc still exhibited detection behaviors constantly, alerting to metallic anomalies during beach walks, scanning water surfaces with tactical focus unchanged from deployment, maintaining operational readiness and vigilance that had no practical outlet in civilian recreational contexts. Lucas ran budget recreational diving operations for tourists, supplementing his VA disability income of approximately $1,800 monthly, with barely enough charter revenue to cover boat maintenance, dock fees, equipment replacement, and fuel costs. The work was monotonous by design: shallow reef dives to 30 feet, beginner certification courses, occasional wreck tours to well-documented sites that had been comprehensively explored and picked clean by decades of recreational divers. It was exactly the kind of work that required minimal cognitive engagement, which was precisely what Lucas needed. Something that kept him physically active in the water without demanding the intense tactical focus that triggered intrusive memories of the Somalia mission. On a humid November morning, when temperatures remained in the low 80s despite the season, Lucas was conducting a routine charter to a popular reef site approximately 8 miles offshore from Key West. He had 6 clients aboard, 2 couples from Ohio and a pair of college students from Miami seeking adventure tourism during Thanksgiving break. While conducting standard pre-dive sonar scanning to confirm the reef's position and identify any navigational hazards or unexpected currents, Lucas's equipment picked up an anomaly that immediately activated his dormant tactical assessment protocols. About half a mile southwest of his planned destination, the sonar showed a large metallic structure at 95 feet depth, significantly deeper than recreational diving limits and completely absent from any of his nautical charts or NOAA-REC databases. Lucas's SEAL training engaged instantly, despite 18 months of forced dormancy. Unmarked wrecks this close to established dive sites didn't happen through accident or oversight. Either it had been deliberately kept off official records for reasons related to national security or historical sensitivity, or it was recent enough that maritime surveys hadn't yet catalogued its presence. Against his better judgment, and despite having a group of paying tourist divers aboard expecting their planned reef experience, Lucas made a tactical decision to investigate the anomaly before word spread through Key West's tight-knit diving community. He explained to his clients with deliberately vague language that they'd be doing a surprise bonus dive to check out an uncharted wreck he'd just discovered. He anchored his vessel directly above the sonar contact and began preparing for descent to 95 feet, beyond recreational limits, but well within his SEAL training parameters. Then Lucas did something that would have shocked his civilian clients if they'd understood the complexity. He prepared havoc for diving using specialized K-9 diving equipment Lucas had purchased and extensively modified after leaving the Navy. Lucas had maintained Havoc's diving capabilities as therapy for both of them, keeping the Belgian Malinois' detection skills active, preserving their operational partnership that grounded Lucas psychologically, and providing Havoc with purpose that compensated for losing his military working dog identity. At 95 feet depth, Lucas's powerful dive light penetrated the murky water to illuminate something that stopped his descent completely. A vessel, approximately 85 feet long, sitting upright on a sandy bottom, remarkably intact despite obvious age indicated by marine growth patterns and encrustation. The construction suggested mid-20th century, probably 1940s era, based on the riveted hull design characteristic of World War II-era shipbuilding, and what appeared to be mounted weaponry obscured by decades of coral formations and marine biological growth. But what shocked Lucas most profoundly was the condition. This wreck hadn't been discovered by Key West's extensive recreational diving community. No mooring lines attached by dive charter operators, no salvage damage from treasure hunters, no graffiti or markers left by divers claiming discovery. It was pristine, untouched, hidden in plain sight, just 8 miles from one of America's most popular diving destinations. Lucas began systematically photographing the wreck using underwater camera equipment when Havoc exhibited behavior that made Lucas's pulse spike with recognition. The Belgian Malinois was alerting with rigid body posture, focused attention locked on a specific section of the hull near what appeared to be the vessel's forward hold area. It was the unmistakable alert pattern Havoc had used during explosive detection operations, persistent, unwavering, indicating something significant, triggering his specialized training. Lucas's SEAL training immediately overrode recreational dive protocols. If Havoc was alerting on this wreck using detection behaviors trained for underwater ordnance and contraband, there was either explosive material present or something else his conditioning identified as mission critical. Lucas photographed the specific area Havoc was focused on, noted the GPS coordinates with precision, documented depth and position relative to known landmarks, and made the tactical decision to surface immediately without further investigation. Something about this wreck violated normal patterns, and his operational experience emphasized investigating properly before information spread uncontrollably. Back on shore, after completing an abbreviated dive at the original reef site to satisfy his paying clients' expectations, Lucas immediately contacted Dr. Maria Santos, a maritime archaeologist at Florida International University's Institute of Archaeology, who specialized in World War II-era Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean shipwrecks. He showed her the underwater photographs and provided exact GPS coordinates of the anomalous wreck. Dr. Santos's reaction combined professional shock with immediate recognition. Based on the hull design, armament configuration visible through marine growth, and riveted construction style, that's potentially a World War II submarine chaser or patrol craft, probably PC class based on the dimensions you're describing. But there's absolutely no record of anything that size going down in that specific location. Every documented wreck in the Florida Keys is comprehensively catalogued in multiple databases. This vessel shouldn't exist as an undocumented wreck. Lucas and Dr. Santos organized a proper archaeological expedition within 48 hours, assembling a team including 2 graduate students specializing in underwater archaeology, a marine conservation specialist, and comprehensive documentation equipment, including underwater photogrammetry systems for creating detailed 3-dimensional models. During the second dive, with Dr. Santos's team systematically documenting the site using professional archaeological protocols and measurement systems, Havoc alerted again, this time to a sealed compartment near the wreck's bow section that had been protected from extensive marine corrosion by a watertight hatch that had somehow remained secured for decades. Lucas used specialized tools to carefully open the corroded hatch mechanism without damaging potential artifacts or compromising archaeological integrity. Inside the sealed compartment, remarkably preserved in an oxygen-depleted environment that had prevented biological decomposition, a waterproof military container marked with United States Navy insignia and stamped with the date 1943. The team extracted the container using proper archaeological documentation and handling protocols, then transported it immediately to Dr. Santos's laboratory at Florida International University for controlled opening in an environment that would preserve any degradable materials. Opening the container in the laboratory under controlled humidity and temperature conditions revealed contents that left Lucas genuinely shocked despite his extensive SEAL experience. Classified operational documents marked secret with Department of Defense stamps dated December 1943, detailing a covert anti-submarine patrol mission during World War II's Battle of the Atlantic. The documents identified the vessel as PC-1249, Patrol Craft 1249, conducting classified operations in the Florida Straits hunting German U-boats that were attacking Allied merchant shipping during the critical period when submarine warfare threatened to strangle Britain's supply lines. But the documentation revealed far more than routine patrol operations. Included in the container were handwritten operational logs describing an encounter with what the crew positively identified as a German submarine, an engagement that resulted in depth charge deployment against the contact and a catastrophic equipment failure during the attack that caused PC-1249 to take on water rapidly and sink. The final entry, written by the commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Robert Walsh, in increasingly shaky handwriting, suggesting he wrote while the vessel was actively sinking, dated December 18, 1943, read, 03:40 hours, established positive sonar contact bearing 145 degrees at approximately 1,200 yards. Acoustic signature matches known German Type 9 U-boat characteristics based on intelligence briefings. Contact maintaining steady course toward Key West shipping lanes. 0355 hours. Close to attack range. Deployed pattern of Mark 6 depth charges set for 150-foot detonation depth based on sonar ranging. Observed explosions at target position. Sonar contact lost immediately following detonations. Believed target destroyed but unable to confirm due to water turbulence from explosions. 0402 hours. Catastrophic equipment failure in our own depth charge rack during final charge deployment. Premature detonation near our stern section. Taking water rapidly in engine room and aft compartments. Damage control efforts proving insufficient. 0405 hours. Radio equipment damaged by explosion and flooding. Unable to transmit distress signal or accurate position report. Current position approximately 8 miles south-southwest of Key West based on dead reckoning navigation. 0425 hours. Vessel sinking. Crew abandoning ship to life rafts. If this vessel is ever found, we engaged the enemy as ordered and did our duty to the best of our abilities. 27 souls aboard PC-1249. Tell our families we served with honor and courage. Tell command we believe we successfully engaged and destroyed enemy submarine threatening Allied shipping. Lieutenant Commander Robert Walsh, Commanding Officer, PC-1249, United States Navy. Lucas's hands trembled as he read the logs, his SEAL background providing tactical context that civilian archaeologists might not fully appreciate. This wasn't just an undocumented wreck. This was evidence of a World War II combat engagement that was never properly recorded in official histories. A vessel that went down with highly classified information, and potentially 27 crew members whose fate and final actions were never officially confirmed. Dr. Santos contacted the Naval History and Heritage Command in Washington, D.C., which conducted an emergency archive search through World War II casualty records. What they discovered was historically significant and tragic. PC-1249 was officially listed as presumed lost at sea, December 1943, all hands presumed lost. But the specific details of the mission, the engagement with the German U-boat, and the exact sinking location were never properly documented because wartime record-keeping during the Battle of the Atlantic was chaotic and incomplete, with dozens of vessels being sunk monthly during the campaign's height. The 27 crew members were listed in casualty records as lost at sea, with no specific operational details. Their families had been told during wartime notification that the vessel disappeared during routine coastal patrol, not that it went down, engaging a German submarine in active combat operations. The critical turning point came when Navy officials contacted Lucas directly. They wanted to immediately take custody of the wreck site and all recovered documents, citing national security protocols for classified World War II materials that technically remained under government control. Lucas refused with sealed determination. 27 families have spent 82 years believing their fathers and grandfathers disappeared during a routine patrol that went wrong. Lieutenant Commander Walsh sealed those operational documents in a watertight container, hoping someone would eventually find his ship and tell the complete truth about what happened. We found it. We're telling that story regardless of classification protocols from 8 decades ago. Lucas contacted professional genealogy researchers and veteran organizations working systematically to identify living descendants of PC-1249's crew members. Within 3 weeks of beginning comprehensive outreach, 14 families responded, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of the deceased crew, all carrying variations of the same inherited burden, believing their ancestors died in an unexplained disappearance, when the truth was they went down fighting during one of World War II's most critical naval campaigns. When Lucas showed the families Lieutenant Commander Walsh's detailed logs and the recovered classified operational documents, their decades-old grief transformed into something profound. Understanding that their loved ones hadn't just disappeared through accident or misfortune, they had actively engaged enemy forces, possibly destroyed a German submarine threatening Allied shipping, and died serving their country during combat operations that saved lives. The families collectively petitioned the Department of the Navy to properly memorialize PC-1249's crew with accurate service records, and to investigate whether the U-boat they engaged was actually destroyed in the encounter. The Navy initially resisted, citing the extreme difficulty of verifying 82-year-old combat claims and the lack of corroborating evidence beyond Lieutenant Commander Walsh's logs. But Lucas did something that forced unavoidable action. He partnered with the families to launch a coordinated media campaign with one powerful message repeated across platforms. A Navy SEAL's K-9 partner found a World War II shipwreck that's been missing for 82 years just 8 miles from Key West. The crew died fighting German U-boats off Florida's coast during the Battle of the Atlantic. Their families deserve to know they died as heroes, not as sailors lost to unexplained circumstances. The sustained media attention, combined with congressional pressure from representatives whose constituents included PC-1249 crew families, forced a comprehensive Department of Defense historical review involving Navy historians, National Archives researchers, and international consultation with German naval records. Naval historians cross-referenced PC-1249's operational logs with captured German U-boat records archived after World War II. They made a stunning discovery that validated Lieutenant Commander Walsh's final entry. German naval records documented that U-508 was operating in the Florida Straits during December 1943 and was officially reported missing, presumed lost, with all hands on December 19, 1943, exactly 1 day after PC-1249's final log entry described engaging and attacking a submarine contact. The evidence strongly suggested PC-1249 had successfully engaged and destroyed U-508 in its final combat action, with both vessels sinking as a result of the engagement, a mutual kill that went completely unrecorded in official histories because neither vessel survived to report the encounter. The United States Navy officially updated PC-1249's loss record, changing the classification from presumed lost at sea during routine operations to lost during combat operations against German submarine forces in the Battle of the Atlantic. The 27 crew members received comprehensive posthumous recognition for their service during one of World War II's most critical and dangerous naval campaigns, and their families finally understood what their loved ones were doing when they died. Not routine coastal patrol, but actively hunting and engaging enemy submarines, threatening Allied merchant shipping that was critical to Britain's survival. Lieutenant Commander Robert Walsh was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross, the Navy's second highest decoration for valor in combat, for his tactical decision to preserve comprehensive operational records and document his crew's final actions despite knowing the documents might never be discovered. His act of sealing the classified logs in a waterproof container, betting someone would eventually find the wreck and tell the story, was formally recognized as extraordinary foresight and integrity under the most extreme circumstances imaginable. PC-1249's wreck site was officially designated a protected war grave and military memorial under federal law. No salvage operations permitted under any circumstances, but memorial diving allowed for educational and commemorative purposes under proper archaeological oversight. Lucas began conducting specialized memorial dives for crew families, many of whom were elderly themselves now, children who'd been infants when their fathers died, now in their 80s, bringing their own children and grandchildren to the site where their fathers and grandfathers rested. He brought them to 95 feet depth, allowing them to place memorial tributes, American flags in waterproof containers, personal photographs, and letters at the wreck. Dr. Maria Santos led a comprehensive archaeological documentation project spanning 6 months, creating detailed three-dimensional photogrammetry models and extensive historical analysis of PC-1249. The documentation revealed that the vessel's depth charge rack had indeed malfunctioned catastrophically, confirming Lieutenant Commander Walsh's final log entries were accurate in every detail. The wreck's condition also provided forensic evidence supporting the successful U-boat engagement. Advanced sonar imaging showed damage patterns consistent with counterattack from a submarine's deck gun before PC-1249 went down. 6 months after the discovery, Lucas and Havoc participated in a formal memorial ceremony at the Key West Naval Station, where a bronze plaque was dedicated specifically to PC-1249's crew and their final mission. 14 families attended, some with 4 generations present spanning infants to elderly great-grandchildren, to finally see their ancestors properly memorialized as combat veterans rather than sailors lost to unexplained circumstances during routine operations. Havoc, wearing his specialized diving vest adorned with military working dog insignia and service ribbons, sat beside the memorial with professional bearing and dignified posture that honored the 27 men who rested beneath 95 feet of water just 8 miles offshore. Children and great-grandchildren of the crew approached the Belgian Malinois, thanking the combat dog whose underwater detection capabilities had finally brought truth and recognition to light after 8 decades. 1 year after finding the wreck, Lucas had completely transitioned his charter business model to specialized historical wreck diving, partnering with Force Blue, a non-profit organization of military veteran divers who documented World War II shipwrecks, conducted marine conservation work, and applied military diving expertise to environmental protection and historical preservation. Havoc continued diving regularly with Lucas, his detection skills now applied to locating historical artifacts, assisting with comprehensive wreck site mapping, and identifying areas of archaeological significance during underwater surveys. Together, they'd helped document 9 additional Gulf of Mexico wrecks over the following year, 3 of which contained previously unknown World War II vessels that had been missing from historical records. Lucas also began working formally with the VA's veteran therapy programs, using wreck diving as experiential therapy for other combat veterans struggling with PTSD and transitional stress from military to civilian life. The ocean work, combined with the higher purpose of honoring fallen service members, provided healing effects that clinical therapeutic settings couldn't achieve through traditional treatment modalities. Lucas discovered that his Somalia demons, the intrusive memories, night terrors, and survivor's guilt that had dominated his psychological landscape for 18 months, quieted significantly when he was systematically documenting the final resting places of warriors from a different war who'd made different sacrifices. A documentary filmmaker producing an award-winning film about the Battle of the Atlantic asked Lucas the question that captured widespread public and historical fascination. What made Havoc alert to PC-1249 when the wreck had gone completely undiscovered for 82 years, despite being located in heavily trafficked recreational diving waters near Key West? Lucas's answer became the narrative foundation of the documentary titled 8 Miles Out: The Secret of PC-1249. Havoc was trained specifically to detect ordnance and explosives underwater during maritime interdiction operations. PC-1249 went down with live depth charges, ammunition stores, and classified materials, all things that would trigger his specialized training even 82 years after the vessel sank. But here's what genuinely shocked me about the entire discovery. We were conducting a routine tourist dive to a shallow reef that day. We had absolutely no reason or intention to be at those specific GPS coordinates. My sonar caught an anomaly half a mile from our destination, and I made the tactical decision to investigate because that's what Navy SEALs are conditioned to do. We don't ignore anomalies. We investigate them until we understand what they represent. He continued, Havoc alerted using detection behaviors from our operational partnership because military working dogs don't retire from detecting just because paperwork says their service careers are over. He found something that countless charter boats, recreational divers, and official maritime surveys sailed directly over for 82 years without noticing. 27 sailors went down fighting a German submarine during the Battle of the Atlantic, and a Belgian Malinois who never met any of them refused to swim past their resting place without alerting someone that they mattered and their story deserved to be told. That's the genuinely amazing part of this discovery, not the wreck itself or the historical significance, but the fact that loyalty, dedication, and service don't have expiration dates. Not for sailors in 1943, not for Navy SEALs in 2025, and definitely not for K-9 partners who keep working and detecting long after everyone thinks the mission is finished. The shipwreck that had rested at 95 feet depth for 82 years, passed over by countless charter boats, missed by comprehensive official maritime surveys, forgotten by everyone except families who never stopped wondering what really happened, was found by a retired SEAL running budget diving tours to supplement disability income, and discovered by a combat Belgian Malinois whose detection instincts never deactivated despite retirement from military service. Lieutenant Commander Walsh's desperate act of preserving his crew's story and operational records succeeded not through official Navy search operations, deliberate historical investigation, or government-sponsored recovery efforts, but through the unpredictable intersection of routine charter diving, sonar anomaly detection, canine detection instinct, and one former SEAL operator's refusal to ignore what his K-9 partner was communicating mattered beneath the waves.